Hi, so I'm going to be diving into Bobby Rio's 5 easy ways to make a girl chase you to help you attract more women without having to say a word. Keep watching to see where Bobby and I agree and disagree.
Treating a woman like she's above you. She instinctively begins to look at you as if you are below her. It's human nature.
From a nonverbal standpoint, what Bobby's getting at here is that you want to bring confidence to all your interactions. So when you walk in the room, you want to walk in the room like you own the place, but not like you're above people, right? So for most guys, that means chest up, elbows together, and then naturally, for a lot of people, when you take that posture, your chin sort of rises, but that gives off the air as if you are above people. So you want to make sure you keep your chin level and don't poke your nose up at people, right? So that for a lot of guys is going to look like this. And that's the confident, non-verbal way of projecting that you're not above people, but confident in yourself. And also with that, when you walk into the room and when people first see you, especially women, you want to be taking up as much space as possible. So when you're speaking with your hand gestures, broadening your chest, broadening your shoulders, that means hands open, typically hands open is a very, very welcoming sign. So this could be part of what your approach is when you walk into the room, so you have that confidence of knowing that you own the place, but you're not better than anyone else. Women also want to feel like you're treating them like equals, that you're not above or below them. So they want to feel secure, like, you know, you're bringing that masculinity, that masculine energy that allows her to be more feminine. And, you know, approaching this conversation, this initial conversation, a part of what you want to do is you want to feel like you're attractive. Like it's just two guys talking though at the same time. You don't want to come off like, you know, you're looking at someone who's so beautiful that you're stumbling over your words. You want to keep your check in your own mind that this is just another person you're talking to. It's nobody extra special, no matter how beautiful she is. I recently went on a date and she brought a friend with her, and as I was walking them back to the car, one of the things that I was doing was staying on the traffic side of the road. So as we crossed the street and changed directions, I made sure to position myself on the traffic side of the road. And one of the things that the girl that I was seeing told me her friend complimented me on was the fact that I was walking on that outside towards the traffic side of the road. And she felt like that was the masculine and protective way to position myself even when we're walking. So this had nothing to do with anything I said, and it was just how I was being protective of them by walking on the traffic side of the road. So, you know, keep in mind, a lot of what attracts women has nothing to do with what we're saying. Women love a man who can open doors and offer his jacket if she's cold and, you know, that sort of thing. You know, not someone who thinks equality means splitting the bill on the first date. By the way, my name is Kirk. I'm a personal consultant at Greeting to Girlfriend. I have over 30 years of consulting experience, and I've worked for multiple Fortune 100 companies throughout my career. And my mission here is to help you attract more women without having to say a word. Click subscribe to see more details about how to get women to initiate more conversations with you.
And it's the belief, right? It's the unwavering belief that you are actually the prize.
You have to know you're the prize, right? And how do you do that? For me, that's fitness, fashion, and finesse. Here's the thing. I walk into the room knowing I look good. So I go to the bar by myself, and then I post up on the side of the bar where I see that women are, but not right next door. But there was a guy who came and sat because his beer was still there sitting on the bar, right? So he and I got to talking, and I realized that he could be possibly an ideal client for me. So I wanted to make sure that I exchanged some ideas and asked some questions about his scenario to make sure I understand how I could help. In any event, he and I are having this conversation, and all along, I'm making eye contact with this woman who's really attractive, right? But I'm there talking to this guy. He's sharing, you know, details about his story, so I'm focusing on him. At the same time, I'm keeping my eyes open, of course, right? So she and I are making eye contact back and forth. It's karaoke night, so she's dragging her friend up to sing, and they come back, and as they're coming back, she just comes over and starts a conversation with me. Why? Because we were making eye contact. And confidently so, right? It wasn't just a quick glance. It was intentional with the eye contact, right? And not staring in an awkward way, but making it noticeable that I notice her, right? So I didn't have to say anything to her, and she comes up and starts a conversation with me and the guy I just met, and her friend comes over too, and now all four of us are talking. So we all had a great time introducing ourselves to one another, having a few laughs, sharing a drink together. And why? Because I walk into the building with confidence, right? From a fitness, fashion, and a finesse standpoint, right? I'm making that eye contact, that nonverbal communication that allows her to feel comfortable enough to say something to me frequently enough for long enough that that second longer than you normally would hold eye contact with a person that you don't know. That's how long you hold eye contact, and that lets the other person know, hey, I'm looking at you, but I'm not going to make it super weird, right? So that's something that I want to make sure that you guys know. When you walk into the room like you own the place, you have to already know you own the place because you're doing everything you can to be a confident man, right? So that's the lesson that Bobby's trying to teach right here.
The next thing you have to do is you have to stop chasing validation.
What I think Bobby's talking about here, where he's saying stop chasing validation, one of the things that I was keeping in mind as I was going out last night and telling you the story about the woman coming over to talk to me is that, you know, no matter what happens in that scenario, if I talked to no one and just had my one beer and left, that's okay. The fact that I'm out there in the first place, that I've worked on my fitness, my fashion, my finesse, my physique, it's all part of me being and positioning myself, actually leaving my house, going out and going to a bar by myself. Or hey, if you're not a guy who's comfortable with that or thinks his game is stronger, if he's got a friend there, well then bring that friend along. But the fact is, you got to get out there, you got to be where the women are, and then be proud of yourself for just making it there. Getting out, putting your butt on that bar stool is important. That's a huge step, because having that interaction that I described to you last night couldn't have happened if I was sitting at home. But the fact is that I was out there. I don't need any further validation, right? If I went home alone, if I didn't get a phone number, if I didn't talk to anyone, that's okay. And therefore, anything beyond that is just great. It's just gravy on top, right? So that's the mindset that I want to have when I'm going out. And what Bobby's talking about here is not seeking validation from anyone, but just knowing you're good, you're great for just being who you are and being there, right? And trying your best. But you have to also know you're trying your best. Doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. It means you're trying. You're moving one step closer, 1% closer to the ideal state. And that's what's important here.
Stop chasing validation. Very simple. It's stop trying to impress her.
Come on, Bobby, this whole video, the whole concept of dating from a man's perspective is trying to impress her, right? So you want to get her to like you, but you want to do it in a subtle way that is attractive and doesn't seem needy. I think that's what Bobby's getting at here. That's the main point he's trying to make here. But you definitely want to impress her, right? But you want to do it in a subtle way, right? So, for example, wearing a shirt that makes you look muscular and masculine. That's a way to impress her, right? And what's wrong with looking nice for a woman, right? It gives us an upper hand because so many men are not trying. They're not conscious, perhaps even, of the fact that they're not trying to look good, not trying to look sexy for women. So few men try to look sexy for women that you stand out just by trying more than most guys, right? More than 50%. You're trying to look good for this woman. And my videos here are not about trying to help you have more sex. I actually want and believe that being in a long-term committed relationship is the best way to live life, brings you the most peace and contentment, and that's what I'm all about. At the same time, hey, I want to have fun. I want to feel attractive. So what my point here is that even having a nice motorcycle, a nice boat, a nice car, convertible, whatever, a nice truck, who knows? Those things matter. Those things can be fun, right? And if it's okay for us to be attracted to a woman based on how she looks, it's okay for a woman to be attractive based on what we bring to the table, even if that's from a financial standpoint. But you're a cut above if you also have that physique and you have that fashion and that finesse that goes along with being an attractive man. So then I think this is the point that Bobby's trying to make here. Now, we also don't want to overdo it when it comes to the materialistic play, right? So we don't want to have too much jewelry. We don't want to have, too flashy of clothes. You want to look good. You want to look masculine, but you don't want to look like you're trying too hard. So click the affiliate links below. So you can see my clothing collection that I recommend for you and the latest Galaxy Watch. I love the Galaxy Watch. It gets so much attention and it's so functional in terms of like being responding to a message quickly when you're on a date and you don't want to pull out your phone. So check out the links below.
And what's interesting is that women actually want to be the one winning you over.
Women want you to be interested in them. So a lot of this has to do with verbal communication, right? So you're asking the how, what, and why questions to not only initiate a conversation if that's what you choose to do, but also to carry one forward as well. So you want to be in control of that conversation. You want to lead the conversation, particularly if you initiate the conversation. You want to definitely be leading that conversation, that conversation with those what, why, and how questions. Additionally, when it comes to being attractive, you want to make sure you're making that eye contact. One of the tactics that I love is to look at a woman in her eyes, then look down at her lips as she's speaking, looking back at her eyes once again, and letting her know that I'm looking at her mouth, right? And women find that incredibly attractive. They don't say it, but you can see it in their eyes, right? So it also has a lot to do with hand gestures. And also when she's speaking, you should be actively listening for opportunities to ask her another how, what, or why question, right? Again, my focus is nonverbal, but that also includes actively listening for those opportunities to ask questions about her and her perspective on the world, because that's the point of the conversation in any event. Hopefully trying to also understand what's this person's perspective and how do they think, how do they tick, right? So that's the mindset you want to have in the back of your mind as you're having this conversation. Additionally, you also want to be focused on your when she's speaking to make sure that she sees that you're engaged by nodding your head, leaning in, stroking your chin even, so that way you appear to be, and hopefully are, actively listening to what she's saying and looking for an opportunity to understand her and ask another question to keep that conversation moving forward.
To keep in mind with this idea of not chasing validation is not overly explaining yourself.
Now, if you're doing this right, you won't have to worry as much about over-explaining yourself. You're going to be the one asking a lot of questions, but you might hear, well, it feels like you know so much about me and I don't know anything about you. I've been talking all night about myself. Tell me something about yourself. And that's where you want to go in and give a little bit of information and start asking questions again. Tell her a little bit about yourself, but don't go on and on. This is not a one-man show, it's a conversation. So make sure you're asking questions to keep the conversation moving forward.
The third thing that you want to do in terms of being the prize is be the decision maker.
So when Bobby says be the decision maker, he means be decisive, right? And that also comes into play when we're talking about your body language. So when you meet a woman, for example, outside of a restaurant, you want to get the door for her. You want to lead her in by directing which way she should walk. You should step up to the hostess stand. Take charge of that situation. Let her follow the hostess to the table. Direct her to where you would like for her to sit. Sit next to her, even if you're at a booth, so that way you're closer. You have an opportunity to touch her, tap her, joke with her, or whatever. You have that proximity, and it feels less like an interview if you're sitting side by side versus opposed to one another. When you're leaving, again, let her get the door for her. Make sure you walk her to the car. All these things are nonverbal cues of what kind of man you are, right? So this is gonna help her understand that you can take care of her, right? For me, I'm the kind of guy who just goes in for the kiss. I can sort of feel out the situation to see whether or not she's open to it. And again, this comes back to looking at her lips while I'm talking with her, even at the car, and seeing if she's open, right, to being kissed. I don't ask. Again, I pick up on a lot of nonverbal cues, but if you feel like asking, go ahead and ask. But my thing is just lean in and kiss her, and if she gives you the back away or the dreaded handshake, give her that 2-hand clasp handshake and make sure that she knows this is more than just a friendly hello and goodbye. Even if it's a handshake, you could make it the best handshake ever.
The next one is a simple one. I wanted to give you, I know I gave some sort of theoretical ones. This one is a simple one, and it's ask her for a favor.
Here, where Bobby's talking about asking her for a favor, what I read into this as far as from a nonverbal standpoint is asking her to do something with your body language, like tapping her and pointing to what you want, or giving her a head gesture to let her follow you, or giving her a wink. Like if you're on a date and you want to tell the waitress that's your sister, give her a wink and let her know, hey, this is a joke, this is our inside joke, without even having to say a word to her. You're giving her those signals that you're communicating with her in a way that's intriguing and attractive.
The next thing we want to talk about is set and communicate standards.
Here, where Bobby's talking about set and communicate standards, when that comes into play from a nonverbal standpoint is a lot of what we've been talking about already. Letting that woman know that you're attracted to her is going to help her understand that, or to figure out for herself whether or not she's attracted to you, right? So this has a lot to do with the way you're looking at her lips, the way you're touching her in a prolonged way, or looking in her eyes a little bit longer than someone else normally would, right? So these are the kind of things that are going to set those standards that you're attracted to her, and letting her have the opportunity to understand whether or not she should be attracted to you. Keep in mind, women like a guy who is mysterious. They find that attractive. You don't want to let them know everything about yourself. Again, asking questions is a great way to not reveal too much about yourself and to learn a lot about what she likes. And then you can position yourself in a way that's comfortable and authentic to you to make yourself more attractive in those ways. So like Bobby says here,
she wants to work a little bit. So you want to allow her to switch into that role because that's the role she would rather be in.
But the thing is, you actually have to feel confident. And in my opinion, that comes from compliments. Confidence is going to come from those compliments that you receive from others. So again, we come back to fitness, fashion, and finesse. So in the comments, I'd like for you guys to let me know, where do you think you have the biggest challenge? Is it your fitness? Is it your fashion, or is it your finesse? Just let me know that one word answer, fitness, fashion, or finesse. That's gonna help me understand what I can help you with. I wanna help you create more opportunities to have those interesting conversations with attractive women that could possibly lead to a long-term committed relationship. Right now, I'm in the process of developing a course to help guide you in an easy way to build your confidence through compliments back to fitness, fashion, and finesse. Until then, you can take the nonverbal attractiveness quiz that's in the link description below. Make sure you watch Bobby Rio's 5 Easy Ways to Make a Girl Chase You to get your own opinion on what Bobby's trying to teach in his video.